Hello, my name is George Manda. I'm a research analyst here at the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. On today's episode, we'll be looking at market inquiries. And under market inquiries, this segment will be done in two parts. I'll be doing the first part, and my colleague will join in on the second part. Under the first part, we'll be looking at what are market inquiries, what triggers market inquiries, some of the processes under market inquiries, and lastly, we'll be looking at misconceptions under market inquiries and how market inquiries promote competition and enhance consumer welfare. So jumping right into it, what is a market inquiry? A market inquiry is a comprehensive assessment of the market that is conducted by the Commission, where it has reasonable grounds to believe or suspect that there is a distortion or restriction of competition, one, in a particular sector of the market, or two, in a specific agreement that is cutting across various sectors. So how then does the Commission initiate a market inquiry? So the Commission initiates a market inquiry when there are certain triggers. So some of these triggers include when there are complaints that are received by the Commission. So under the Commission, we have three major departments which enforce the law. We have the Directorate of Consumer Protection, we have the Directorate of Mergers and Monopolies, and the Directorate of Restrictive Business Practices. So the complaints received under the Directorate of Consumer Protection are usually the ones that trigger a market inquiry. So we look at complaints that are received in a specific time frame, say within a year or within 6 months. When we notice that there's a pattern of complaints that are received and directed to a particular sector, as we resolve some of the issues or the complaints that are received, the Directorate of Consumer Protection then refers some of those cases which are happening in a particular sector to the Research and Education Unit, and we initiate a market inquiry. The next thing which triggers a market inquiry is studies that are conducted by relevant authorities or relevant bodies. Why we limit it to relevant authorities is because we understand that there are different people out there who carry out different studies. So we look at what has been raised by relevant authorities. So in every study, there are findings and recommendations. So under those findings and recommendations, we look at the ones that seem to distort or restrict competition in a particular market, and then we flag it as a Research and Education Unit and dive into a market inquiry. The third and the last thing that allows the Commission to initiate a market inquiry is through its regulation of restrictive business practices and certain anti-competitive trade practices. So like I earlier alluded, we have two major departments which are under competition, that is Directorate of Mergers and Directorate of Restrictive Business Practices. So when these two departments notice that there is restriction of competition in the competition aspect of the economy, they then flag it with the Research and Education Unit and a market inquiry is initiated. So let's look at some of the misconceptions around market inquiries. So when we're initiating a market inquiry, the public usually comes to us and think that it is an intended investigation towards a specific firm or a specific sector. So we are here to just clarify to say that a market inquiry is not targeted against any firm or any particular sector. It is simply a comprehensive assessment of that sector. So when we're looking into market inquiries, we don't target any firm. The second misconception that comes around when we're looking at market inquiries is that market inquiries are done in secrecy. So market inquiries are not an investigation. They are done in the public, and as we continue on this episode, we're going to tell you some of the processes that the Commission undertakes as we carry out a market inquiry. So a market inquiry is publicly known to the public, and stakeholders who are engaged in that market inquiry are usually informed from the inception of the market inquiry all the way to the end of the market inquiry. So let's look at the processes that the Commission undertakes as they're initiating a market inquiry. So when we're initiating a market inquiry as a Commission, the first thing that we do is derive terms of references. So these terms of references guide the Commission in how they're going to run the market inquiry. Under the terms of reference, we look at the different stakeholders that are going to engage, the time period that we're going to have during the market inquiry, and through these terms of reference, the public is then made aware that the Commission is going to engage in the market inquiry. The following document that we derive, or the process that we undertake after terms of reference, are the rules of procedure. The rules of procedure simply govern the whole aspect of how the market inquiry is going to be undertaken, and if the Commission is going to bring some external people who are going to undertake the market inquiry with them. That's under the rules of procedure. Then the third and most important thing that we do is stakeholder mapping. For industries or sectors that usually have an association or affiliated to an an industry association in that particular sector, it makes it easy for the commission, because the commission then engages the association of that particular sector to understand their membership and then reach out to their membership as the stakeholders for the particular market inquiry that the commission is undertaking. And the last thing that we do as we initiate a market inquiry is we have call for submissions. The call for submissions now are the requests for information that are sent out to the different stakeholders that we just mapped in the previous process of undertaking this market inquiry. So like earlier put, market inquiries are not targeted. As we engage the stakeholders, we make sure that it is broad and not specific to any particular firm. We've undertaken certain market inquiries in the past before. My colleague is going to anchor on this one, and you are going to notice that in these market inquiries, big players as well as small players alike have been part and parcel of the whole market inquiry. So the third thing that we're going to look at under market inquiries is then how then do market inquiries bring about fair competition and enhance consumer welfare in the market. So market inquiries take more a reactive approach as opposed to investigations, which usually have a proactive approach. So market inquiries look at a pattern or a trend that has been happening. So when you initiate a market inquiry, you then improve efficiency in a particular sector because you comprehensively understand what is happening in the market. Usually when we send out the request for information or the call for submissions, the kind of information that we request for is usually confidential information. And just to inform the stakeholders out there, the confidential information that is received by the commission is usually held in high confidentiality and with all ethical processes respected. So as we improve efficiency then trickles down to fair competition in the market, which then trickles down to consumers having enhanced consumer welfare. The second thing that helps promote competition through market inquiries is good governance. So when you initiate a market inquiry, you realize that in certain sectors, they have value chains. So when you initiate a market inquiry, the market inquiry then helps to understand how this whole market operates, and initiation is done properly. So having said all of this, I'm going to then refer to the second part of the market inquiry episode to my colleague who's going to come in and explain on a few things. But just before I leave, one thing which I just forgot: market inquiries are not usually penalty oriented. No, they are fact finding, and the sole purpose of these inquiries is just to comprehensively understand the market. Even though when a market inquiry is concluded, the information that we received, and if we realize that the market is highly distorted and there are high anti-competitive practices, an investigation can be initiated, but the investigation will follow its own path and will not derive on the information that was collected during the market inquiry. I'll refer to my colleague who will continue from then.
My name is Milau Joseph Choka, and I will be picking up from where my colleague left off on this second segment of this episode on market inquiries. One might ask, how do market inquiries relate to the broader economic and consumer welfare goals? Market inquiries remain one of the Commission's most successful tools at assessing entire markets or segments. Unlike investigations, which work on a case-by-case basis, market inquiries allow the Commission to assess entire sectors and industries to detect any aspect that may be restrictive of features that distort competition. This process allows the Commission to promote efficiency and transparency, identify any systematic issues that restrict innovation or limit access to markets, as well as make recommendations based on enhancing consumer welfare, promoting quality and innovation. One might also ask, how often does the Commission conduct market inquiries? According to the Act, there is no specific timetable on how many market inquiries can be conducted. Market inquiries are normally conducted on the need, the urgency, as well as the priorities that arise. However, on average, the Commission targets to conduct at least 1 to 2 market inquiries. What sectors or industries have been subject to market inquiries in Zambia. Recently, the poultry sector, which focuses on Zambia's food security, had a market inquiry initiated looking at the breeding, the feed, the pricing, as well as other competition aspects of the sector. The paid television sector, which was completed in 2023, which is available on our website, can also be accessed for further information to understand some of the competition dynamics that arose from that study. In closing, that has been all from us on market inquiries and the various aspects on how they are done, why they are done, and when they are done. For any further clarification or information, you are free to come through our offices. This is CCPC head office here in Lusaka, or any of our provincial offices across the 10 provinces of Zambia. Thank you. Goodbye.